Having famous friends is awesome. They get you access to cool parties, cool places, other high value people. It makes you look cool, but the problem is it's hard to get access to them because everyone wants to. So in today's video, I've got Noah here with me. And if you don't know him, he's famous in the tech industry. He's the 30th employee for Facebook, a bunch of other credentials. And when he walks around Austin trolling for tacos, it looks like Clint Eastwood in his prime walking into an old bar with a loaded six-shooter. People just go crazy. So we're gonna go through a couple scenarios of common ways that people come up to him and try to get in with him and try to get cool. A next step, which is kind of the mid-level, and then we're gonna go through some pro tips about what you can do to actually get rapport and hopefully make friends with high-value people. And then we're also gonna sit down and deconstruct, and Noah's gonna tell you what was going on in his head at certain parts of the interaction. So let's look at the first example.
Hey, just in case you're in a hurry and aren't gonna make it to the end of the video, I wanna tell you that Noah's got his own YouTube channel, podcast, and blog called OK Dork. I'll put links to all those in the show description. Also, I'm going to be giving away a free social invincibility checklist, which I'll talk about more towards the end of the video. You can click or touch up here in the right-hand corner and download yours now if you're not going to make it.
So let's look at the first example, a common way that he gets approached by people all the time. Noah Kagan?
Hi.
Dude, I'm sorry to interrupt, dude. I'm Troy.
No, I wasn't doing anything.
No, I'm a huge fan.
Nice to meet you, Troy.
Oh yeah,
How's it going?
It's good, dude. I've been watching your stuff for a long time. I'm actually going to be in Austin for the weekend. We should exchange numbers, and I'd love to buy you a beer or some tacos.
Cool, thanks, man.
Yeah. You want to?
I'm not really hanging out a lot this weekend, but you should have a great. If you need any recommendations, feel free to email me, and I'll let you know.
Oh, okay. All right, cool. Well, great to meet you, man. Big fan. I can't believe I ran into you.
All right, brother. Cheers.
Awesome. So when I came up to you, what's the first thing that popped in your mind when I approached you like that?
Oh God, what does he want?
What does he want? What does he want from me?
Yeah, and then I do actually appreciate when anyone ever comes up to me and they recognize me. I think it's very nice, but it's always like, I don't want the adulation. I don't want to be like thought of as like something above. I want it to be actually thought of as an equal. And it just actually puts me in an awkward spot when they're like, oh, you're this guy, you're this person. I'm like, no, I'm just Noah. You know, I've got problems. I've got good things too.
Right. So he's just automatically saying, we're not on the same level. Your social value is so much higher than mine, and I'm down here before you even do it. Okay, that's interesting. So you could take out that excitement, that exuberation. Hey, you're up here and I'm down here. Anything else about that approach that stood out?
It's more, I think the status thing is really important, and just recognizing someone is a great way to start. Like, hey man, I really just appreciate your work. And it doesn't mean you can't be enthusiastic about it. Like, I get excited. Like, Coolio was on the subway.
Yes.
And I was just like, hey man, I just really appreciate your work. You mind if I just take a quick photo? That'd really mean a lot to me. He's like, sure man, let's just keep walking with me and take a photo. Took a photo, didn't ask for anything else.
That's awesome.
And I just did it in a respectful way that, like, you don't want to act like you're above or below, just like a normal human. Like, Coolio shits in the same toilet I do. Not the literal, but like a similar one.
Good way to look at it. Keep that mentality in your head. And you were annoying, and I bet he didn't act really that annoyed. He's like, yo, walk with me. I'm doing stuff. Didn't slow him down. So kind of a win-win, I guess.
Totally. I mean, I think one of the key things is you're trying to interact with people at any level, like higher people, medium, lower, whatever it is. Like, you have to respect their time and their space. Sure. So like, I went up to Lou Ferrigno at Gold's Gym in Venice, and I was like, Lou, let me get a photo. And he's like, I'm working out here. I'm doing that's Arnold, I guess. I'm doing the workout here. And I was like, and he actually was between sets, but he's like, I don't want to take a photo right now. And you know, at the end of the day, like, they can make those choices. You know, I don't want to just go take photos randomly without people's permission.
Sure. How often do people actually come up to you and say that? Like,
when people come up to me, I get about once a week. Someone like Brandon, who we'll talk to later, like, came up to me during the Arnold Bodybuilding Classic, and he'll just be like, hey man, you're Noah Kagan, aren't you? And I'm like, I look like him, yeah, it's me. And I never want to feel better. I never want to feel like I'm above the people. That's my personal take, because like, I know how it feels to like kind of meet someone that you admire what they've done in any aspect. Like, if they're a chess player or if they've created a restaurant.
Yeah.
Like a few days ago, I met the founder of a Cafe Medici, and I was like, you're the Medici guy? And he's like, I mean, he didn't act arrogant, and he was just a nice guy that was like, yeah, cool, I make coffee, I love it.
Yeah.
And so I think the point is, you know, people appreciate getting recognized to some extent.
Yeah.
But they don't want to get like, I don't think people want to be put on a pedestal for the most part.
Right. And that's probably the biggest fear is like, oh God, another guy's going to come up and make me feel like, you know, I'm on a pedestal. I'm just a normal person.
I think the key thing that I've recognized from when I'm approaching other people, or if I get approached, and just in general, is that people like knowing how you have affected their life. How by watching the YouTube video, by listening to a podcast, by sumo.com, one of the products, how it's impacted their life, any person would want to hear that. Like, if I was a, let's say, movie celebrity, you know, that movie changed my life forever.
It's powerful.
Tell me more about that.
Yeah.
I'd actually want to hear more
Right.
about how that's impacted your life. And I think that's a key thing I've noticed when people approach me. If it's impacted their life, I'll take time to listen more.
Yeah, that's true. And people assume that when you blow up to such a certain level that they just hear it all the time, but it doesn't get old, right? That's like something that boosts your dopamine. You're like, yeah, I'm doing something cool. Like it's working, it's appreciated.
It's funny you say that. I did one of the first episodes of No Kagan Presents podcast was with Tim Ferriss, and we did this episode and I asked a bunch of weird questions. We talked about balding and pills and drugs and women and all this usual stuff with him. And what was actually one of the most interesting parts was at the end. And at the end of the show, there was an audience watching online, and I said, hey guys, how has Tim changed your life? And this was what was fascinating about this was Tim had to leave. And he had to go to another show, Oprah or something, whatever, right? And he stayed an extra 10 minutes, now that I reflect on it, just to hear how people that have read his books or his podcast or his blog and how it impacted their lives.
That's
and
great.
That was very impactful. I could tell he stayed an extra 10 minutes. It showed what he wanted to use his time on.
That's actually cool from your perspective too. Like what an empathetic way to like pump someone else up. Like that's so cool for you to do that for him.
Totally.
You know, you were putting yourself in his shoes. What would he like to hear? They always say like if you want to get in good to someone, ask the question that they want to be asked.
Ooh, that's a strong one. Yeah.
What would they like?
I think kind of to the later parts of what we did in today's episode, it's like what things are my priority, and then how do you lubricate me to talk about that or help me with that?
Right.
Like, hey, no, I know you're doing YouTube, right? Or I know the podcast is important, or I know sumo.com is important.
Yeah.
How is that going? Right? It's kind of a lighter question, but like, hey, I saw that you guys are doing this. Like, how's that working out? Like something specific. Like
100%.
sumo.com launched a new autoresponder. Or, hey, your podcast with Jim Rohn. Like, dude, that was so crazy. Like, how did you think of doing that?
Right.
Like something that I'd be excited. I think that's a great point about highlighting something that they want to be talking about.
Absolutely. Good point. Do a little research. It doesn't take much to know that you're putting a lot of emphasis in your podcast, right? It takes you 30 seconds of internet research, and now you're one out of the 100 people to know that are going to hit that hot button.
Yeah, well, I'm trying to reflect on people that have gotten through, right? Because everyone is busy, right? When people say, this is a quick tip, never tell the other person, I know you're busy. Right? Because then it implies that you're not busy, the person who says it. Mm-hmm. And everyone has things going on.
Right. That's interesting.
Don't say, oh, I know you're really busy. It's like, yeah, okay, obviously that means you're not worth my time.
Yeah.
That's how I hear that.
Right.
And so I'm like, everyone's busy. Everyone's got stuff to do.
Yeah. You're telling them how to treat you. Once again, like, it's so funny. Like,
that's
you
a good way of putting
say anything, but you're immediately, the first 3 words that come out of your mouth, it establishes the dynamic that they're up here and you're down here, and everybody wants to be communicating, hanging out with people of their value or even a little bit higher. So you're just setting yourself up for failure. That's really interesting.
And I think that's a great point. For like the people that get through, they have invested time. Right? They've invested 5, 10, 20 minutes, 30 minutes. Like you even putting together some of what we're talking about today, you spent time to understand what's important to me, and it showed. Mm-hmm. Right? Like, so someone emailed me today, literally this, hey, I know you're at South by, why don't we go get tacos?
That's it?
And that's literally what he said. He's like, hey man, I know you, wouldn't that be great? And I'm like,
wouldn't that be great? Yes!
I can't
Finally!
wait.
Yes!
Someone will spend $10 so that I can spend an hour with some guy who I don't know how he's gonna be.
Yeah, right.
And I have to go commute there, and then he probably at the end of it is gonna want a lot of business advice.
And likely if he came at you with that uncalibrated of a manner, he's gonna be a creep anyway.
Yeah, that's actually, I don't know if he'll be a creep. He might be a good guy. I think he just could be uninformed or inexperienced around this stuff.
Okay.
Meaning that like, if I'm trying to meet someone, for example, I wanted to meet Nick Kay from the Alinea founder, right? So I looked up on his Twitter, I looked up on his Instagram, I looked up on his blog, I read everything about him, and then I approached him with like, hey, I know you're really into cooking, I'd love to help promote your new cooking software, which is TikTok, right, for restaurants. And then I brought him a cookbook from Franklin's Barbecue here signed.
Nice.
Right? So it's one of these things where it doesn't matter what level you're at, like you have to do something that you think the other person would really benefit from.
Right.
And it's really putting in, I know this is cliche, you want to hear more of the secrets, but it's putting in the investment, it's putting in the work,
sure,
and you will get the results from that.
Sure, 100%. Okay, cool. So let's watch the second video here. We're going to show a one step up. This is not going to make friends with people, but it's a cool way to approach. And Noah even said, sometimes I use this when I don't want anything. I don't want to necessarily meet the guy or hang out with him later. I just want to express the interest and the appreciation that I have for his stuff. Noah?
Hey, what's up, brother?
Oh, dude, what's up? Hey, I hate
What's
to
your
bother
name?
you like this. I'm Troy.
Awesome.
I just want to quickly style. I love your stuff. I really appreciate the effort you've been putting into your content lately. It's
Thank
great.
you so much, man. I appreciate that.
Yeah, cool, man. All right, sweet. Have a good day.
All right, later, brother.
So that's a lot more solid, you can see, right? And you could even see from Noah's reaction, he didn't get that tense, oh, what does this guy want from me and all this kind of stuff. It's just, I really like the stuff you're doing. Everyone wants to hear they appreciate the stuff you're doing. How did it feel different when I came up and approached like that versus the fanboy the first way?
A lot of it is what you're expecting from me, right? Like I appreciate the second one where it's like, hey, your work's impacted me, thank you for it, and you walk away. One of my favorite stories was I asked a girl how I should approach girls at a bar. And she's like, here's how you should approach girls at a bar. You go up to them, you buy them a drink, and you walk away. And I remember hearing this story, and I was like, that's genius, because then they're gonna want to come meet you. And my friend said to me, he's like, no, dude, that's a girl telling you how to get free drinks so that they don't have to deal with you. So I think there's something nice about going up to someone and then like hooking them up with a little bit of adulation or a little bit of like recognition. But then I think there's something still left, and that's what the advanced level is.
That's interesting. Last thing I'll say about that, I think a good analogy is with women, a lot of times guys, they do have the problem where they put these women on pedestals. And let's compare that to someone who's famous, right? They get put on pedestals. Do you think famous people or really especially attractive women, when they're hanging around their families or hot women's ex-boyfriends, do you think they treat them any differently? No. So you treat a famous person like they're on a pedestal, it doesn't feel right. It's like, yo, they don't even know who I am. They're treating me like this iconic thing, this deity that's not even real.
Yeah.
And even though we think that's what they want because they're so famous or they're so pretty, they want to be treated like a regular person.
Have you ever met someone, speaking of this, going further with that, have you ever met someone that's famous but you didn't know they were famous?
Yes.
Who's that?
I remember I was in LA and I still don't really remember who it was, but they're like, yo, you know who that was?
And how did you treat them?
Just like anyone else sitting at a table next to me.
And how was that relationship or that experience?
They treated me exactly like it would be if they weren't famous. 100%.
Do you think that was a deeper relationship with you two, or like that you got to know them? I mean, not got to know them or experience them better than if you like kind of idolized them?
I actually asked them to take a picture of me and the girl I was with, so it wasn't a deep like rapport kind of thing. I talked with them a little bit just about what he was with a girl too. I was like, what are you guys doing here? But that was really about it. But I guess that's not the kind of example you're looking for, but the fact that...
No, that's exactly it. I think there's something there where just treat them like if you treated someone that isn't super famous, like how would you be treating them?
Okay, so this third video, we're gonna go through some techniques that you can use to actually try to make friends and establish rapport with someone. We'll talk about the actual techniques that were used after we watch these videos. Noah?
Yeah.
Oh, hey, what's up, man? I don't mean to bother you. I know you get stopped all the time. Hey, I really appreciate the effort you put into that new podcast. That's really coming off well.
Thank you so much, man. Appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, you know what? No pressure on this, but actually South by Southwest this weekend, as you know, I'm having a really cool pool party at my apartment. There's gonna be some cool girls there. If you want to roll by, that'd be awesome.
Cool. You want to just text me and then I can check out, see if I'm interested later?
Yeah, sure. I'll hit you up. Nice to meet you, man. Cool.
Cheers. Thanks, brother.
Noah?
Yeah, what's up, man?
Dude, what's up? Hey, I hate to bother you. I know people come up to you all the time.
What's your name?
I'm Troy.
Troy, nice to meet you, man.
Dude, I've been so impressed with your podcast.
Thank you.
It came out so hot, and you came out with some really good people on it right off the bat. I love it. Is that something that's pretty important? Are you putting a lot of energy into that?
Yeah, it's like my main thing, man. I love that podcast. Like, I'm really trying to get 100,000 downloads.
Nice, dude, that's a crazy goal. Well, I actually am friends with Joe Rogan, and he's coming over for dinner here, I think, 2 weekends from now. If you want to come by and wrap up some questions, that'd be great.
The Joe Rogan, like the #5 podcast guy?
Yeah,
that'd be awesome, man. What's the best way to get in touch with you?
Yeah, I'll give you my number and just shoot me a text, and I'll let you know when he's coming. I'll run it by him, and we should be good to go.
Dude, sweet. That sounds great.
Cool, man. Nice to meet you. We'll be in touch.
All right, brother. Cheers.
All right,
Thanks so much.
Hey, Noah?
Yeah, what's up?
Sorry to bother you. I know people come up to you all the time.
Awesome.
I'm Troy, but I love your new podcast.
Thank you very much, man.
And also, your new YouTube videos are great. I can tell you've been putting a lot of energy into them. I can tell you got like one camera guy, but I actually have one of the top camera crews in Austin come over. These are the guys that do like the big Hollywood productions that go to and forth from LA. So I don't know if that's something you're interested in to pump your own videos up and get a little more traction, but more than welcome to come by if you want.
That sounds awesome, man. Why don't I give you my information and we'll follow up on that?
Yeah, perfect. Sounds good, man. We'll be in touch. Very nice to meet you.
Hi. I appreciate that.
So what I hear a lot of people say is, well, I don't have all these high value things going on. I don't have a video team coming to my place, and I don't have a pool party with a bunch of girls coming. One thing you have to remember is high value people want to hang out and spend time with other high value people. So if you're just starting out and you don't have much going in your life, it's gonna be very difficult to get someone who has all these different options going. All that means is you should diligently work on yourself. An example that we were actually talking about is, let's say you're not especially intelligent and you weren't born into a great family that sent you to a great school and all these things. Get really good at one thing. So let's say you paint curbs, for example. We'll become so passionate and so good at that people come in from different states to let their new people see you on how you do it. You're so good, you do it the right way. You're known for that. Because you don't have to be, like if you're trying to hang out with an actor, you don't have to become a rivaling actor and be their competition. Just be the top in your field, because top people see value in communicating and hanging out with other people who are the tops of their industry or their field, even if it's not related to theirs. So don't be discouraged if you're starting off low. Work on getting really good at something that you can add value to an interaction with someone else simply because of that passion and that expertise that you've developed. So what you notice in these videos is not only it was cool, I appreciate your stuff, but it was offering value, but not only value unique to what's important to him in his lifestyle. So you saw one of the examples was, I know he's a single guy. Hey, I'm having a pool party and there's gonna be some cool girls there. I'm having a YouTube team that specializes in YouTube video. Come by, check it out. Joe Rogan is gonna be there. I know you're trying to grow your podcast. These examples are explicit value, things that I know he'd be interested in from my research, and also the fact that I have those cool things going in my life, I can invite them in. So what changed from when I just said, yo, I appreciate your stuff, like the last two, to when I actually brought some value up? How did that change the feel?
I was trying to think about it at a high level, and this applies not just for meeting people in person. This also applies to emails, tweets, letters, whatever it is that you're trying to do with connecting with whoever you want. And you actually turned the situation around to something I actually wanted. So I wanted to give you my information. I wanted you to actually be like, yeah, please bring me to these type of activities.
Yeah, what a change.
Like I had a friend who was like, hey, you want to go to Keith Ferrazzi's dinner? And I was like, yeah, I've been wanting to meet Keith Ferrazzi for a long time, so I actually even flew to go meet him. Meet Keith, and I appreciate it. And my friend was the hub of that. So I think the point is, like, how do you be the hub or the connector of value to something that person wants? So for you, for example, Barron, number one, you were just talking about clothing, right? So I could be like, hey, actually, I have a friend who runs a clothing line that could hook you up with some clothes, because you just said you're interested in clothes, right? That'd probably be something that you respond to.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Or secondly, let's say that you want to be a guest on someone else's show or on their podcast or on their blog. Well, hey, I have my own blog. I can promote you to 50,000 people too. How would you respond to that?
Right, 100%. All value.
Right, so I think it's understanding what their priorities are and how you can really align with it. Some of the misguided ones I've seen are like this morning, hey Noah, can I take you out for tacos? And the way I look at that is that it's just, one, I have to now do a coaching session with you. You're spending $10 on it. And I'd rather have lunch alone or with someone I already know, like my friend like Brandon, or someone I work with at sumo.com.
Right.
And so I think it has to be a little bit above and beyond. And I want to caveat that. It's not just about spending money. It doesn't mean I have to buy you this. It could be connecting you with someone else. Like you were saying, Joe Rogan, you could email Joe Rogan and say, hey, I'm inviting Noah and maybe Tim and some of these other guys that are well known that Joe might want to meet. Because Joe's into MMA or Joe's into podcasting. Maybe you can have a dinner with him and the NPR people, the top 10 podcasts.
Sure, absolutely.
And then you get a restaurant to sponsor that dinner, right? That's something that Joe might actually be interested in.
That's a cool way to do it. And so now he's adding value to Joe and everyone who comes by being the liaison that makes all this possible. It's really, think of it as flipping the script on value. When you're famous, everyone wants things from you. That's all they want. They come up, you assume they want something. So you're not only not wanting something, you're offering this insane, specific, pertinent value without wanting anything in exchange. So it's a complete 180.
Totally. You can't have expectations, and Brandon will share his story about it. I call it the whiff technique. I don't know if I've ever mentioned this. Ever tell you whiff?
Yeah.
It's what's in it for them.
Yeah.
And you have to completely come with that mindset. So if you're emailing someone or messaging someone or meeting someone, think about what's really in it for them. Because most of the time it's so obvious. Like people will send me, like I love this guy, but he sends me his mugs. And it's this big clunky ass fucking mug. And I'm like, Joel, I love you, dog. But I don't want a mug, right? That goes right. It goes to, and it's a nice mug, and I'm sure people love it. But like, that's just about him spreading his mug love to someone that like I already like my mugs, right? So he could have asked very nicely, like, hey, Noah, I make these gorgeous mugs. I think you drink coffee. Is it something I could send you? Like, here's what it looks like. And I'd be like, no, I'm not actually interested, but I really appreciate it. I think the highlight between, or the common thread between these is that you also have to be understanding of your expectations out of it. So people will send me like a Taco Deli gift card, which I love, and it's a great way for me to actually like. I think the point is that they've shown some status or some value. They're not just taking, right? By saying even a $10 gift card, by doing that, I'll like open their email and actually read it more thoroughly than someone who sends me something else.
You go from the assumption that you're wanting something like everyone else does. And we actually talked about this off screen. It's like, why do you think so many people end up dating or hanging out with their crew or dating people before they got famous? Because they become so accustomed to everyone wanting something from them because they're famous that you not only want to remove yourself from that, but take another step in the other direction by only offering value. And now you're that unicorn that comes up and they want to hang out with. Yeah, he's coming to the party. I'm offering something. I want nothing in return.
Yeah, I think also remove the word fanboy. Don't say you're a fanboy. That automatically puts you on that lower level. So be aware of the vocab you're using when you're connecting with these people. Like, hey, I'm a huge fanboy. I'm like, oh God, you're going to be needy.
Some people actually say that they introduce a fanboy.
Yeah, I think it's just more like if in terms of, let's actually break it down into elements. It's one, having, I think you have a lot about this. You wrote this. Let's break it down to elements, right? It's like have enthusiasm, right? Have kind of adulation or recognition of their work, right? And then if you want something, offer something that you don't have an expectation on. So offer something that you think they would want that don't have an expectation on. Let me give you an example. I've wanted to be on someone's podcast. I wanted to be a guest. And I actually emailed them as a fanboy and I said, hey, you should just have me as a guest so I could talk about this. And I was like, man, that is all about me, right? So no matter what levels you're on, there's always something, other people you want to connect with, sideways, upwards, diagonal. And so what you have to understand is like, hey man, I've been loving your show. This one episode was really great. I can put together an episode about this and then I can promote it to my audience that I think will really drive your downloads and make it kind of a no-brainer for them to be like, dude, I got to get Noah on my show.
Right.
And doing this episode has actually really made me change my mind on it and improve my mind.
That's awesome.
Damn, that was good.
I think what you said too, what stood out to me is like you want to admire or give adulation towards their work. I think a lot of people just kind of pump people up for being famous. Like your movie star, it's not like, dude, I love that scene, the nuance of this and that scene was awesome. It's more like, yo, it's Hugh Jackman, you're awesome, man.
Oh, that's true.
You know what I mean? It's not the caricature. You're talking to the person as opposed to the famous icon that's created through all the media and all this crazy stuff. So
Well, I think that's one of the things that's interesting about making connections with anybody is that you make assumptions about who they are. So that's actually something I've had problems with dating, or I've had problems when I meet people that are like, oh, you're Noah, you're always going to be like this. When I'm like, this is me. That's how it's going to be. But you have their perception of you.
Yeah.
So I think as you're connecting with other people, you have to remove some of your assumptions and perceptions,
Yeah.
and then try to just connect with them as someone who's got they've got problems, probably like maybe they're too rich, or they've got too many ex-wives, whatever it is. But actually connecting with them from like a more normal level is a way that you'll probably build a better connection and eventually build a relationship that you can do cool things together.
Yeah, gotcha. So we've got a really unique example to talk to Brandon, who does all of the videography and pictures for Noah. The way that he met Noah was by applying these exact examples. We didn't even know this was going to be the case, but I thought it'd be a nice example for him to kind of walk you through how he went up to Noah. It was at a weightlifting thing, and basically made friends, and now they're friends. They hang out and they work together. So if you could maybe just talk about the whole process from when you first went up to him and then how it kind of developed, what was going on in your mind, and how you kind of approached it.
Totally. I knew that actually Noah started like lifting weights like a few years back, and I've been doing it for like 7 years now. And it like literally randomly, I ran into him at the Arnold Festival in Columbus, Ohio, like a year ago this weekend. And I was like, oh my God, Noah, like I've always wanted to meet you. Like, what are you doing here? Like, because he was with one of his friends. And it was just kind of like, cool, thanks for saying hi, let's take a picture, that's it. And then a few weeks later, he reached out to me saying like, I need some headshots for my company, and I told him like that was my business before. So I went and did some headshots for the sumos, and totally free of charge. Like I wasn't even thinking like, oh cool, I'm gonna make some money from this. It was literally just kind of just like you said, adding value.
But it wasn't like you went into it like Noah's like, can you do this for free? Like you just assumed you weren't going to charge to kind of show the value.
Right, and he even tried to charge me for it, and I didn't tell him my PayPal address.
Yeah. I'd like to remind you, this is all very advanced stuff. A lot of people aren't interested in trying to befriend famous people. They're just more interested in understanding what's going around them socially, how to interact when they're out in public. If they're at a restaurant and a bar, how to start a conversation, how to blend in, and how to get people to like them. If that's something you're trying to improve, then I put together a free social invincibility checklist. You can touch or click up here in the right corner and download yours, and it's going to go through the 5 most important things for you to understand and keep on the forefront of your mind going into any social interaction. And it's going to enable you to understand more of what's going on, to know how to go up and start a conversation, to know how to create rapport and get people to like you and want to be around you and invite you to parties, like things that we talked about in this video. So you can touch or click up here in the right-hand corner and download yours.